セットライズと逃げろ。誰でも音できる、誰でもスピード稼げる、ガバナンスまである。中集権のメディアはもう終わりだ。
真相から立ち上るインクと真実がぶつかる。リバヤさんニュース開かれ海嘘はない。読んで書いて氷結しろ。力はみんなのもの。いい霞をたたえろ。ニュースは君のものだ。レバヤさんニュース。レバヤさんニュース。
Hello everyone, what's up? The advisor here, Leviathan News. Hope everyone is doing well. It's Friday here already actually, but Thursday for most of our viewers, I'm guessing. And I'm actually very excited to have on someone I've talked to about like maybe it was almost 2 years ago now when I think about it, like a year and a half ago or something like that at least actually. And for those of you who aren't recognizing yet, it's Justin, CEO of GridPlus, creators of the Lattice one. In my opinion, by far, the best hardware wallet out there. So thank you so much for joining, kind sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me back. I don't think I realized it was that much time, but you're right. Now that I think about it, it was probably nearly 2 years ago. So this will be fun catching up.
Oh, yeah, it was back in the Send It days. It was one of the last episodes that we did of Send It, the show. But yeah, really long ago, to be honest.
It's a new world since then. Everybody, even I feel in the past few months, a lot's changed with crypto, and then how we're signing and everything else. So a lot to cover.
Definitely. I'd want us to touch about a lot of this kind of stuff and updates on your side on GridPlus. I know you have an upcoming product that you guys are working on that should be very, very interesting for those not familiar with it. And actually also, like I told you, ever since you've so generously given me your wallet to use, it's the only wallet I'm using as a hardware wallet. I work with it, combined with Rabbi, I don't know how they actually say it. And man, the experience is just so cool. I was telling you just before we went live that, that like it's so classy to have like a desk wallet instead of this feeling of like you're outdoor camping looking at like a tiny screen. And just like you've mentioned, yeah, it's the ability to actually read what you're signing at that is so important.
Yeah, that's a big thing that we set out to do differently when we started out with the Lattice One. In particular, we were early users of Ethereum, and we found that when we signed, we really couldn't see what we were doing whatsoever. So security tools that you have, the real benefit of it is having a second sort of X-ray pair of specs where you can see if what you're approving is what you really mean to approve. And with wallets that were designed just for Bitcoin, that wasn't really feasible. So we started with a large screen, and everybody else is going in this direction now because the readability is so important. But at the time, people thought it was a very strange design choice. But we think readability is what it's all about, and we're trying to take that to a new level with what we're releasing this year.
What can you tell us about it? Like why? I'm sure that there's much you can't tell, probably. But what I like, let's even start from like a step backwards, okay? For those who don't know, what is the Grid? What is Lattice One, your flagship wallet? What makes it different than other, or maybe we can even say superior to other hardware wallets out there, like the main features? And then maybe we can get into the upcoming product and what should people start expecting, at least from what you can say.
You're right. We jumped right into it. We had some good banter before we started, so I was just excited to launch into it.
I'm with you. I'm just thinking to myself that, I really doubt that enough people, especially like real serious DeFi users, are aware of just how much of a better experience. And again, I'm not objective here, guys. I apologize. Just how much of a superior experience it is to be using GridPlus. Actually, I should say.
Yeah. So the background on this, we are a US-based hardware wallet manufacturer. And what we did differently was set out to design secure tools for smart contract chains. There's a lot of fantastic products out there that do a great job for Bitcoin and how people use it. But typically the way people use it is quite different than how we're using smart contract chains today. So in particular, people would generally send their Bitcoin from an exchange to their hardware wallet and treat it sort of like a vault you keep offline until you want to transact or sell. But with smart contract chains, as we all know, we're signing all the time. You're interacting with social media. You're interacting with now agents that people are doing with OpenClaw. You're using NFTs and DeFi. So signing is something that you need security for. It's not just about protecting your keys. And in fact, I think the way that we're using signing is going to keep evolving. Before I get to that, though, so this is what the Lattice One hardware wallet looks like. It's pretty different. And there's a reason for that. One is we designed for enterprise-grade security, and then being able to use as many wallets as you want with one device. We do secure backups and additional wallets. Instead of having to buy another one, you insert your card, enter the PIN, and it switches over. So if you're using Rabby or MetaMask or NuFi or any different tool, you can have an unlimited number of wallets all paired from one single software wallet. So this is a really important tool, I think, for a lot of custodians, prop trading shops, because they manage a lot of secure accounts. They want account separation. And when you buy a Lattice One, it includes 3 of those cards to get you started. It backs up your seed phrase and your private keys. And it makes it so that you don't have to write down your seed phrase on a piece of paper. That's actually one of the most common ways people really do lose their crypto. Everyone's worried about hackers and these sophisticated edge case attacks, but the reality is most people lose their seed phrase. Other people get access to their keys and seed phrase, or most commonly, they're tricked into approving something that they don't mean to. And that's probably the most common way that people are losing billions of dollars annually at this point. So that's malicious front ends, DNS hijacking, like taking over a website that you already trust. So this is why hardware wallets are actually more important than ever, even though most hardware wallets aren't really built for how we use crypto right now. Hardware wallets are important because you can't necessarily trust what you're signing. So you want something that will give you a demonstrable source of truth, so you can know whether you're making a good decision or a bad one at a glance. Yeah, I could keep going on the topic, but I feel like we can keep it more conversational. So that's the background. That's the world we're trying to design for. And the Lattice One does a good job of that, and we're hoping to refine it further.
What's the next step, though? Like, how are you going to take this further?
So when you use the Lattice One today, where we found a lot of traction was with like DeFi devs, protocol devs, because they're actually looking at what they're signing. And what you see decoded on our screen is still a little bit complicated. It shows you the call data. It shows you the addresses, how much gas is being spent, or transaction fees for whatever chain you're using. But to a lot of people, even people who are heavy into crypto, they don't read through a lot of that, and I don't blame them. It's not always clear what you're signing when you see call data. the easiest thing we let you do, and what could have helped with the Bybit hack last year, was just account labeling. If you have your account labeled in a hardware device, that's something that people can't fake. So if you have something labeled as, D-Advisor's cold storage, and when you actually go to initiate a transfer, you just see a hex address pop up, you're not interacting with the right thing. So that's what security is about. There's nothing you can just buy that will instantly keep you safe. It's about giving you the ability to see at a glance that something's wrong. So with the Lattice, that's a little complicated. Address labels and some other tools are great, but we talk to a lot of regular people, and that's still too complicated. And the big things.
Exactly. I was also telling you this before we went live, that I use it like in a combo with Rabbi, and Rabbi, like for someone like me, it's so much simpler because it just tells you over there, like this token is gonna go out of your wallet, or this token is gonna enter your wallet, or this will go out and this will go in. And when it gets to the message on the Lattice one, again, there's a whole lot of data that if I really start reading all of it, sometimes I understand what it's all about, but often I don't understand what's like the actual amount of which token is actually going to go out and in what amount, especially in dollar terms.
So there's a reason for that. The reason hardware wallets don't show a lot of that data is because for each additional thing you pull in, you have to be able to verify it somehow. So you don't want to be too opinionated if people are relying on this for major financial decisions. That said, the tools are a lot better than what we had 4 years ago for all of this. So what we're trying to do with the next device, where this really found a lot of traction, was with enterprise users, developers, protocol devs. But the regular people we talk to, there's two things that are basically making crypto uncomfortable, unpleasant for them. And it's the learning curve, and it is the risk. And we hope to mitigate both quite a bit. So what we're doing with the new device is trying to deliver something for the first time where it's a complete handheld device that you can sign and do everything with, like a software wallet. That said, though, when you sign with something like Rabbi, what you see on the device screen should be pretty closely mirroring what you see in Rabbi. So we'll now be able to securely show all this additional data without having to take shortcuts like a lot of people have done with this, where they use like a offline Android device or something where it's pulling in all this insecure data. We're actually going to be able to verify all this and draw it from a secure device, meaning you still have that assurance that what you're seeing is what you're signing, but it'll be like something that's much more intuitive. So when you actually sign, instead of having call data and all the raw transaction details, it'll actually tell you you're now exchanging, if you sign this, you'll exchange, X amount of Curve for X amount of USDC, show the logos, show all these other things. And if you are a developer, you can still drill down and see that additional data. But being able to show this in a clear way is a big deal because, like I said, there's literally billions being lost to these malicious signing requests. That just what you look like you're doing on chain on your computer or your phone looks legitimate, but that's the whole problem. These are very sophisticated attacks, and they go to wallet drainers. So you might think you're approving a simple transfer, but you're delegating authority to your wallet, and by the time you sign, it's gone. Unfortunately, this is something we've actually seen quite a bit, and it's increasing. The wallet drainer addresses you can see on Etherscan and Block Explorers are very depressingly busy. Tens of thousands of transactions each where they're just able to pull people's assets. So it's about meeting people where they are. We don't want to force people to learn more about crypto. We want to make it so that they can have an experience where it just is sort of intuitive. It's like using your phone or your tablet. For too long, the industry has really blamed people and user education when bad things happen, but it's a shortcoming on our part that we have not given people tools that are really appropriate for a mass audience yet. Even the best stuff is still pretty confusing and takes a while to get used to.
I really agree with that, actually. I think that, if we really want to onboard the world's population to use these rails, we just have to be realistic about human nature. And human nature means that they will not learn how to read all this kind of stuff. And all of a sudden have like great practices on how to do this. Like what people actually want is ease of use. And to be honest, they mostly want responsibility taken off of them rather than owning it. So I actually think it also creates, like crypto actually raises in a way, a philosophical debate on whether, on how much sovereignty do most people actually want, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And that's a scary thing. There's been a lot of news recently about in-person attacks in different countries, France in particular, where people's private information is leaked, like from the tax authority in France. And that has led to people being targeted for their crypto holdings. So that question, how much self-sovereignty do you want? Well, first of all, we should look at like how people actually use crypto the most today. The majority of users, like even when crypto Twitter is depressed, when they're in their it's so over before we get back to it, so we're so back every time when it flips. When they're in that depressed phase, the growth of crypto is still accelerating around the world, and where that's happening is with stable coins. It's not the most exciting or exotic use case, but for a lot of the world, it gives access to stable financial services. And a currency that's not inflating in the same way that they're exposed to. So for those people, do you want something that is exotic and difficult to use, or do you want to be able to transact with USDC, go up to your friend, give them a QR code, transfer, split a dinner, and then also be able to press a button with what you have and say, now I want to earn X amount of interest and know that that's a secure transaction. There's always going to be some degree of contract risk and everything else. But I think that's how more people want to use crypto at a base level. But then we can provide that full DeFi degen experience and the full suite of tools for everybody else. So we'll actually they won't really be apps. There won't be an app store, but we can work with all the protocols to do sort of a front end to build the transaction on the device and broadcast it. So if you want to earn from Curve or Aave or Morpho or something based on those, then you will be able to have something that looks like a little phone app. And you're just going to say the details of what you want to do. And then you'll have a dashboard that shows you your positions like you would see in a DBank or any of the other tools you're using where you see your portfolio with prices and everything else. We think that's where it needs to go. Hardware is essential. One of the things that people always ask when they see this is, well, aren't I just going to do this with my phone eventually? And therein lies the problem. Phones are amazing. Computers are amazing and getting better all the time. But because of the nature of those devices, where you're supposed to be able to run whatever you want, build your own programs, visit any website, it has to be so general that anybody can really control what's being displayed. And therein lies the problem. That's how people lose crypto. It's not, for the most part, having your keys stolen or even necessarily your computer compromised. It's showing you something that looks legitimate, but is not. And then there's no recourse then, they're bearer assets. So once that's gone, it's gone. And people are often shocked and wash out of crypto completely because of how horrible that experience is. So phones and computers are going to be more complete, powerful devices by nature, but they will never have the same security assurances. So for crypto, we believe purpose-built secure hardware is going to be essential and getting more essential, because especially with AI and how easy it is to fake front ends and customize things, it's easier and easier to mislead people. So it's maybe a weak metaphor, but I do think of the idea of like X-ray goggles. It should be something like, it's a scam when you look, and you don't have to be a programmer to understand it's a scam. It should just warn you. You still have to look. You still have to be aware that you need to slow down and double check things, but that's our goal, is to make it easier for users. So
What of the like what kind of new features will the new device have that you can share? Because I'm guessing that a lot of what you say here is stuff that you guys will try to already implement in the new product.
Yeah. So I think people's first question when they see the Lattice One, I love this device, but I also work at a desktop computer. Enterprises love these devices, but for people who are always traveling and backpacking,
Yeah.
this is a big boy. This is it's got
Yeah,
some
yeah.
weight to it.
I was
So
actually traveling in November in South America. I went to some conferences there. By the way, shout out Frankencoin. They were the catalyst for my trip. I've started doing content there a few months ago, almost half a year. And by the way, we've actually recorded a stream today on the Frankencoin channel, so go check it out. Shout out Johannes.
nice.
And for me, because I knew that I would have some stuff to do, I took the Lattice. You know, like you have to take the Lattice with you, and it is like it's not like taking a Ledger or a Trezor or whatever.
Yeah. So I can show you a very early prototype. This is over a year old and it's not going to look like the finished product so much. But that's probably the first thing everybody asks, is it going to be portable? And oh God, the fingerprints, my engineers would kill me. So more or less, this is very early and a little boxy.
Looks
So
like a
more-
phone, basically.
Yeah.
So it's like a
more or
phone.
less, it looks like a phone. And so that's actually maybe one of the problems. You know, people think that it looks just like a phone. I'm going to pull up a card. So it'll be like a phone. Will look like a standard flagship phone, but when you want to sign, you put in your card. So you will see when you boot into it, your dashboard. All your
You will have to put your card in order to use it.
Yeah, we're changing it so that you have to put the card in. People just, it makes sense to them intuitively. The Lattice One as it exists today has a built-in hardware wallet, and you can supplement it with as many cards as you want. But it actually, we found people just, they like the idea of knowing the key lives in the card. My crypto is completely offline and I cannot sign until I put the card in and enter my PIN. So that's
cool.
going to be the flow. It's part of why we actually have it stick out more. We don't want people just always leaving one in. Also gives us more room in the device. But this is a really early prototype. I'm not really giving away anything cool. This is where the battery will be. The construction is like, kind of like your modern iPhone, where the back and front is Gorilla Glass. It will have a large rechargeable battery, USB-C, buttons on the side for hard reset.
So it will be, because the Lattice One, for those who don't know, you have to have like electricity next to you. Like you have to plug it in. And
So
here you say that you will be able to use it like in a more portable way.
yeah, and so there are other devices that look like this, but this is the first one where we're going to have a color screen.
Color.
It'll be very performant and look like a modern UI. Other people have that, but they only get it by air gapping, meaning they can't do something so complicated with a secure device. We're going to be the first people to ship something where all of this is happening within the secure enclave. That might sound very technical, but it's the idea that even though it feels like a phone or a tablet, it is 100% locked down, secure device with assurances that you don't get with a connected device otherwise. So that's a big deal. And that's, you asked about what the features are. So the first thing is it's going to be all the things you'd expect from Rainbow, a mobile wallet, but within the hardware wallet itself. You can still use it with all of those tools, use it with Ravi. We think that's how most of our earlier users are going to use it. But where it starts getting interesting with a mobile device that can build a transaction and sign, you can do a lot more with your keys. Things like secure end-to-end encrypted messaging. There's protocols for that. We don't have to build all of that. We now have the power to incorporate things like that. There's a standard we like called XMTP. And you'll be able to interact with your favorite DeFi tools right on there, have your watched addresses, push notifications. When it first launches, you have to think of it more like when the iPhone first launches. If maybe that betrays my age a little bit, and some viewers don't think back to that as clearly as I do. But when it first came out, there's not a whole lot you could do on it.
I can relate to.
Yeah. And so we're going to show some things at the beginning to demonstrate why it's different on day one. But we think a lot of partners are going to be very excited about incorporating access to their own apps on there.
Yeah, so
And-
cool. I was actually
yeah.
just about to ask you that. So you actually mean that I'm going to have hopefully this device that looks like some kind of a version of a phone anyway. And I'm actually going to have like the apps, like some of the apps, like for example, possibly on my device over there for me to just, for example, let's say I want to do a trade on a protocol that creates an app, or you create the app, maybe you can share on that, and it's already on there, and I don't have to even use maybe a computer in order to just do it. I just like press some buttons on my new GridPlus device, and it just happens.
Yeah, so it's going to be limited in that regard at the beginning, but that's the idea. You can be anywhere you have a Wi-Fi connection. You can use DeFi safely. So
without an additional device. That's actually, I think, if I understand correctly, that's what you're saying here.
Yeah, that's why we think it's pretty unique, and why we think this is
the
crypto
had no
tool
idea that this is what you guys are actually building.
Yeah, we've been building it quietly for a while. We've shown some people. We're getting ready to share a little bit more with the world, but we don't want to do one of these things where we hype it up very early and have long pre-sales where people are annoyed with us. We're going to only really tell the world when we know concisely when we're going to ship.
This is so cool, Justin. Actually, I had no idea that you're actually building a tool that will be able to act separately without an additional device, that someone can interact with their funds directly on it. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, nothing like this actually exists nowadays, right?
No. So what we were trying to build, we called it different things internally, but we wanted something that passed the mom and dad test, where, we've all had the experience, or many of us have, trying to explain crypto to a relative. And maybe you're the person who tried to set up MetaMask on someone's computer, and you leave them more confused than when they started. This is a device we want to eventually address that audience. We do think the initial users are going to be all the power users who love all the things they can do with it. But this is how I think we open up crypto to a broader audience, because I've had that experience sometimes when I've done customer service with a team, or just talking to people I know in real life. They'll read an article about something, or maybe they use Polymarket, or they haven't used it, they've read about it, or they want to use a DeFi tool. And I say, you've come to the right place. Let me explain it to you. I'll walk you through it. And about halfway through, they usually say, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to pass. So, maybe I'm a bad teacher, but I think a lot of us have had this experience where it's just, you've put in the time, you've used DeFi so much, these things feel somewhat normal to you, even if your palms still sweat a little bit sometimes when you transfer a lot of money. But for regular people, it's overwhelming. So we want to abstract that away. There's some ways we can do that with software. There's a cool wallet called Privy, which is embedded, and it's supposed to sort of be for people to use crypto on a website without realizing it. But it's not meant to be as expressive as something like this. It's not as secure or powerful. It gets its benefit from being limited in nature, on guardrails, and abstracted away. We hope to do the same thing, but in a much larger scale, bring crypto to normal people. And I think this will be good for the ecosystem. And the metric that really means the most to us is just putting a dent in the amount of money that's lost by regular people every year. We have a lot of people come to us who have not used our products, or have not used any secure products in general. They reach out, since we're a security company, because something bad has already happened. And the story is generally the same. We can help connect them to other resources, talk to law enforcement, and be whatever sort of assistance we can. But ultimately, that money is probably gone for good. And it's the worst part of the job by far. I wish I had better news and I could tell people that it would be easy enough to recover stuff from a malicious contract. So I want to hear fewer of those stories. I want to see the total numbers go down. And I think we can do that while also making crypto more broadly accessible, bringing more users in. A lot of people in crypto Twitter always talk about, what's the killer app? What's the new meta? What's going to drive the new thing? Is it social tokens? Is it the meme coin trading? And I don't think that's any of it. Talking to regular people, they want to use what's here. It's just they feel kind of locked out of the party because it's too complicated. We don't make it easily accessible for them. So that's what we hope to close the gap on.
Nice. So you say maybe the new killer app is actually a new device.
Yeah, or we don't think it'll be the killer app. We hope we sort of blend into the background and people just, it's what you use to get on with crypto. You know, you don't think of your tablet as your killer app, but if it makes it easy to get to everything, and if it takes away the worry of the risk of crypto to a certain extent,
but
then that's a good thing. It should just be intuitive.
It completely, like, if it actually, like, if you guys actually deliver such a product, it actually completely changes the user experience of crypto, because at least until now, to have a safe crypto experience in a way, or to aspire to one, you have to have two devices involved. You have to have the device that actually allows the interaction with the app, whether it's a computer or a phone or a tablet or whatever. And you have to have the hardware wallet. And even just like the fact that you need to combine two separate hardware somehow, usually involving another software wallet, by the way. Just like you said, you lose the other person that you try to explain it to, because they're not gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like, they don't want to, in order to do one specific action, they want to go to one place. They don't want to go to two different places or three and like manually integrate these together. For vast majority of people, it's just like, leave me alone. And I actually think that if you guys will be able to provide a tool in which all of this experience actually goes into one place, this is actually a much bigger game changer than I thought, because I was kind of convinced that you guys are just working on a version of you're taking like the Lattice one and a lot of its advantages, like, top-notch security and a screen that shows the entire transaction and that kind of stuff, and just focusing on making it more portable, first of all. Like that's what I expected. I expected that, okay, they're trying to build like a version of the Lattice one, which is just much more portable, probably without needing to plug it into electricity or for it to take up so much space if you want to fit it into a bag or maybe even a pocket. But I haven't even considered because my mindset is so much like locked into this to the current user experience of like combining at least two hardwares. I haven't even thought about the fact that, okay, you guys are going for something much greater here by, okay, no. We're going to like remove the main device that you're currently using in order to interact. And we're going to provide you with a tool that you will directly just do it on one instrument. And that's actually a huge game changer. And shout out for even just like trying to make it happen, let alone hopefully following through on that.
Yeah, wow. Well, this is the whole thing. I've spent the past 4 years with the Lattice. The Lattice is really a device sort of built for pros. And also when we released this and when we were designing it, it was an era where smart contract chains was early. So we want to take what we've learned building this tool for pros and bring it to regular people. And that's the whole thing. I've spent so much time trying to explain to people why you have to take all these steps. So if you want to use Polymarket, first you're going to need to onboard through an exchange. Then you're going to need to transfer to a software wallet. Then you're going to want to connect a hardware wallet. Then we're going to get some tokens and we're going to bridge to the L2. That's not really tenable for a broader audience. Polymarket is something that people want access to. But it's too much. So that's what we're trying to design for this. Instead of trying to teach people to learn these complicated behaviors, we're going to try and meet them where they already are. And that's why it looks familiar. It looks kind of boring. It looks like a phone. But that's the whole point. It's something that people know how to use, and they don't have to worry about the risk. That Polymarket example did stand out. So some of the things we'll have at the beginning will be much simpler, like mentioning interest earning apps. That's really straightforward because it's a simple transaction. It'll be a lot longer before we have more complicated things like being able to do Polymarket, and even exchanges. DEXs are a little tricky just because the amount of information you need to pull in, all the token logos and all this. It's a technical thing, but the reason that it is not an easy challenge is that with a secure device, if we're going to take that risk and worry away from everybody, we have to vet absolutely everything that comes in and everything that is displayed. So even a simple JPEG, an image, has to be scrubbed before we can put it into a secure environment. So there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into doing something safely when the end result looks very simple. But yeah, day one, we want to be able to show why it's different from the moment you unbox. You get the device, you boot it up, you got your trading dashboard, you get push notifications, and you can earn interest on your stables. From there, we're going to keep working with partners to start expanding that outwards to make it much more robust, to offer a lot more. And then the idea is, yeah, you'll be able to be at a restaurant or at the game and have your new device in hand. Not quite sharing the name just yet because we're still squatting a lot of domains and things online to lock it down. But you'll just be able to do it. You'll have access, whether it's from your phone's hotspot or just your own Wi-Fi, and you can see if your DeFi position needs topping up. I think that's awesome to really have that full experience now. At minimum, you can awkwardly do it with a hardware wallet and a phone, and that's still a wonky process. So like I said, this is the threshold, is the mom and dad test. People used to always ask me too, they're like, okay, I've got my uncle to buy $600 worth of ETH. What kind of hardware wallet should he get? And generally, as much as I hate to admit it, I would tell them, don't buy a hardware wallet yet until they want to try stuff on chain. Have them keep most of their money on Coinbase, put a little tiny bit, in a software wallet and experiment, get used to and comfortable with the process of using crypto before you start moving a lot of money on chain. And we hope to make it so that people don't have to go through that complicated onboarding any longer.
Man, this is so cool, and it brings up so many things I want to ask. How long do we have, Justin? How much time do you have?
I could take like another half hour. Time flies by when we're chatting. So
yeah, definitely.
Just the time difference. I'm in U.S. East Coast. I'm based out of Boston in the Northeast, and so I got to go read my kids' storybooks in a little bit. I got 2 little ones, so
we won't keep you from that, and that's why, unlike I usually do, like I actually wanted to ask you in advance because I do want to max the time that we have with you, because there's actually so much more to talk about than I even thought. This actually means that you guys are maybe already working with some of the protocols out there about creating like specific apps that will already be on this device once you launch it?
Yeah, so we're going to have a couple of things at the start. It's going to be pretty simple, but once we showed this to other teams at conferences, they all sort of jump at the opportunity, because for them it's a pipeline to more users for their platform. Why wouldn't you want to have this if you have a DEX or a tool that people are going to want access to? It's just a win-win for both partners. So it's really actually a pretty simple thing. On a nerdy level, we are just basically creating a simple interface for interacting with their contracts. We don't have to build anything. We don't have to start it from scratch. But we just have to provide access with a secure interface to what they've already built. So for them, it's a win. It means more people, a broader audience will have access to the things they've built. And that's really what people want. They're not waiting for some new use for crypto. They want to use it today. It's a pain in the ass. So, but we are definitely talking to partners already. We haven't formalized anything, but at launch, we'll have a couple example things so people know right away what's what's possible.
It's a good time to really call teams out there to reach out to you guys and already start working on their apps on the new device. This is like because you guys are going to actually have very luxurious real estate.
Yeah,
You're just gonna. Honestly, you'd want to have an app over there to allow people to directly access their services. So I actually think that basically any project should want to do that. Oh man, I have too much stuff I want to ask. Wait.
There's a lot to cover. We just have to do this more often, I guess. It's always.
I agree. I actually tend to agree with that. Especially because it's a hardware wallet, how much does it cost to really try to bring such a product to market? Like I imagine, even when I see software companies, and even in today's age of AI, you need budgets, you need staff, people need to get paid. It is not simple at all. And especially when you take into consideration stuff like that. I also remember that when we were talking like a year and a half or two ago, you guys were just raising money. I'm pretty sure you were just doing your raise. So maybe walk us through a bit of the business side of it, in order to actually create a hardware wallet nowadays, how big should the operation be? How what kind of funds are we talking about? Is it in the millions, tens of millions? What do you actually need in order to even start being competitive in this market?
Well, some of the resources are financial, and some of the most scarce ones are intangible. There's the expertise and the time and patience. But I can talk about it a little more broadly. So we raised money a couple of years ago around the time when we were talking, and we're backed by some great people, Bankless VC, Consensus, Consensus Mesh, also Nimbler Capital, which anchored our round. They're based out of Singapore. And then just a ton of angels in the space. There's a lot of people especially from Ethereum would know, Anthony Sassano and a bunch of the guys from MakerDAO, like Mariano Conti, maybe inside baseball, but a lot of just great people we're lucky to have in our corner. But in terms of what is needed, it's changed quite a bit. So the scale is, last time Ledger raised around them, they raised it at $1.5 billion valuation. Wow. They're going to try and go public on the US stock market, estimated $4 billion. They've been doing great with sales. For us, we're a smaller organization, but our aspiration is still to be the category leader with what we're building now. So the way an organization can function today has actually changed a lot, even since we launched. We've done everything incredibly lean. This was sort of forced by COVID with when we started, where we're a remote first team. We use partners for everything, the logistics, the shipping, and also the manufacturing, although we oversee it directly hands-on in the factory in the US. So we can stay incredibly lean. And the other thing is, we are also now, AI is a whole separate topic, but organizations can do more with less. So really what we're trying to do is we structure our organization is just acquire some of the best possible engineers in the space. We have people who have worked in applied cryptography from a government background, people who have done firmware engineering in an industrial setting, and then people who have developed some of the other top software wallets out there. So we have a bunch of subject matter expertise in a few different areas, and we bring it all together, and we kind of thought about what would we really want for this product. We can start from scratch. We have the luxury of doing this. We're doing it quietly behind the scenes. So we were able to really start from scratch with a new one. We took a lot of our learnings from the Lattice, but we've really rebuilt everything from the ground up. So in terms of scale, I don't think we will necessarily need to get as large as some of these big incumbents in terms of staff, office space. I think we can do it in a more modern way where we just bring to the table what we are good at, the expertise, the love of crypto, wanting to do things the right way. And there's other people who are better at the other parts. I don't need to build my own, PCB fabrication plant. I don't need to become an expert in shrink wrapping on a manufacturing line. We want to do what we love and let other people be the experts in the other areas. And we're lucky in the world today that that's something we can do with a remote first team and all the cool tools out there.
So cool. By the way, where is the product being manufactured? Is it all in the US or what's the supply chain of such a device?
So supply chain, we buy parts from all over Europe, East Asia. And for the lattice one, we did the cases and injection molding in East Asia. And then we do all the final manufacturing and the firmware flashing and everything else in a secure facility in Austin, Texas. And we also do our distribution from there. That's actually been a little bit of a pain point. As a lot of people know, it is not pleasant trying to ship stuff to and from the US and other countries. Right now, there's a lot of friction. Tariffs.
You mean like taxes and stuff?
Yeah. So some countries, the cost becomes prohibitive for a Lattice One just because of the tariffs that are leveraged where they are. So we're going to divide that manufacturing for the new device. I can't say precisely where the second location will be at. We're vetting a couple of options and talking to a few people. We will do a portion of the manufacturing in the United States explicitly for the US market. And then we'll have another facility, probably through the same manufacturing partner, to serve the rest of the world. And that will bring down cost for everybody in a big way.
And wow. And this will actually happen, the main reason for that is the tariffs?
That is really one of the biggest things. And also, so the way it works with the tariffs is that if we import components from a given jurisdiction, we're going to pay pretty heavy import duties. Like right now, we pull in stuff from Taiwan, and sometimes we don't know what we're paying till it's in flight. It could be almost like 100% markup.
Wow.
With low cost stuff, that's not always a huge deal, but everything matters. And then we get hit on the other side because our customers will find that our product is more expensive for them than something built in the EU because of the tariffs that they're getting on their side. Wow. So I think this is just, maybe it will be different in the future. It's something that we have to do for the time being. I've seen that with other manufacturers and at a larger scale in our area. Like for example, Dell EMC also had a lot of space and manufacturing and distribution done from Massachusetts, where I live. But they've divided that up. They've moved some things to the UAE. You've seen too, Ledger as an example, they used to do all their manufacturing in France. I believe they're almost entirely in Vietnam now. We're going to be hands-on in the same way with the partners that we're working with, where it will be 2 facilities, and we're still going to be in there ourselves when something happens. We're the guys that get the call and head over. So we want to do it in a somewhat tightly coupled geographical location, but until we wrap things up, that could be a couple of spots still. We'll know very soon. But that's it. It's about removing friction for the customers ultimately, and being able to serve a broader market. I don't want to be prohibitively expensive, especially because a lot of the places where crypto has huge market penetration are some of the hardest places for us to export to. I read an article in The Economist about the spice market in Istanbul, and the number one currency that people transact with there is stable coins. So really? Yeah, in the spice, you think of it as very like a traditional, it's a symbol of Istanbul.
Yeah, you think of a complete cash society.
Yeah, and crypto there is even still very gray market. There's limitations on what you're supposed to do, but it's because it's reliable, it's steady, and it retains its value. So there's a lot of places in the world where there's really broad market penetration, and particularly a lot of it's stables on Tron, Tether. USDC also has pretty solid global market penetration in some areas. But we want to get to those people eventually too. We want to get make sure that the product is affordable and it's intuitive and localized, so that when you are transacting like that in person, if you just want to use stables, if you don't want to buy Bitcoin on 100x leverage, you should just be able to do this with QR codes, direct connections, initiating a transfer right where you are. And this is really needed. People will do this with their phones now. And there's so many reasons why, especially in a public setting, that can be not necessarily a great idea if you're connecting to public networks. There's a lot of risk that's involved with that. So the idea that it's just your secure crypto wallet in your pocket, literally like a wallet, that you can depend on for security and it's reliable, we think it will go a long way in those contexts. Maybe really hitting those markets, we will see, will be a matter of further iteration and making something even simpler with the next device. But we think we're going to be bringing crypto to a lot of people that, well, they might already be touched by crypto, but not in the way that we are exposed to, being dialed in on crypto Twitter and Reddit and all of these other channels and outlets like Leviathan News. That's very much for insiders, and those are power users. But crypto is going to be valuable for everybody, and it's not just the value transfer. It's all the other things you can rely on. You can rely on financial services, get access to interest-bearing accounts, take a loan. We, in a lot of places, take that for granted, but having simple access to that is a pretty killer app in and of itself.
Market shopping at in Istanbul with
with a new device.
GridPlus. I haven't. I had no idea that the conversation is gonna go there. Let me tell you. By the way, this also, I'm just guessing that, even regardless of the tariffs and prices and taxation stuff that obviously are a huge factor in this, having two separate manufacturing like sites or centers, it does make the company and the product more resilient, because especially in such a chaotic world as we're experiencing the past few years, it's important to have to not have one breaking point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The most important thing is to be flexible and resilient, so we're ready for any eventuality. I think that goes for all of us with how fast the world changes sometimes. Being flexible and adaptable is one of the best skill sets you can have.
Most definitely. Just before we get close to wrap up, I'd actually also want to ask you about, some of your marketing efforts, which we will soon get to one of them, the recent one, I guess. But I'm actually very curious because, I don't think that in general, GridPlus, maybe it's because, especially with the Lattice one, it is very much a niche product. But what kind of efforts and what's your marketing strategy in general? How are you expanding the brand, getting more sales, getting more people to know about the product? How do you guys view that side of things?
So that's an area where we're going to see some big changes with GridPlus this year. We were lucky with our scale. We were able to do a lot just through reputation within certain crypto circles and word of mouth. When a developer leading a project cites that they love the Lattice One, it goes a long way with that community. So we've built up that reputation, but we're trying to take it from this sort of professional enterprise-grade insider device to something mass market, and that takes a totally different go-to-market strategy. We've intentionally been a little bit quiet now because we've allocated more of our focus to what we're building and getting ready, more than spreading the word just yet. But that's actually a really interesting question, because I think those methods have changed quite a bit. The things that are really going to, I think, resonate now is the internet market playbook of a couple of years ago was maybe social media ads, direct marketing, And I don't think some of those things are scalable in the same way. I think we have to be sort of building and living in public a little bit more to get that familiarity with us and our story and build the credibility with a broader audience. So that means things like just hitting the pavement and every day talking to different communities, different specific online communities, and making ourselves accessible to them. So the community outreach, making ourselves available, not like a cold, detached corporate entity. It's a really hard thing to do this at scale with some mediums now because, for example, I saw like Morpho actually close their Discord because of the number of scanners. We're going to do what we can to make ourselves more accessible and grow the team and have more people focused on developer relations, and also just social media and making us available. We feel this direct one-to-one interaction and getting out and talking to people in venues like this, talking to traders that live stream, I think that's going to resonate more because people are they're allergic to advertisements now. They don't want a hard sell. And I think we're also going to expand this by doing more that is not necessarily about GridPlus. It's just about crypto and security in general, making us a trusted resource for learning about crypto in general, and then having us be the security tool that you fall back on and rely on naturally once that trust is established. So giving away a little bit more of the expertise for free is actually, I think, one of the best things we can do, because people don't want to be sold to all day. They're sick of spam. They're sick of, cold calls and everything else in this constant barrage. So we want to provide sort of that free value as the way that people find out about us. So with that, it will be a whole lot of seemingly simple things. The community AMAs, publishing more writing, publishing more video and educational materials. And we think this is how we're going to get a broader audience. It's just making sure that we're visible in that way, not as someone trying to sell you something, but as a resource you can rely on from other people who are using crypto every day as well.
I agree. I actually think that this is a very common theme, especially the last few years, that if you really want your brand to become relevant and important, it's about becoming an authority in your own field, meaning being trusted enough and provide enough value that people just want to, they just trust you more and get much more bonded to what you do, because they're like, okay, yeah, these guys are not just telling me, pay me this, pay me that, pay me this, pay me that. They're actually establishing themselves by educating, by communicating, by delivering so much relevant value that you get to this authority state of okay, when I need something security related, I rather just see what GridPlus says on their new security podcast. So and then from there, the funnel into buying stuff, especially with a company that actually sells the product, becomes the best alternative.
Yeah, it's interesting too. So with the generational gap, I look at what content resonates with my kids. We used to be hardcore no screen time people, and that falls to the side when you have a second kid, and maybe other parents can relate. But I have kids who are 9 and 5, and it's really interesting to see the 9-10-year-olds. They treat some YouTubers sort of more like television stars than actual television stars. They don't even have the concept of event TV. So an example that I really thought about a lot was my son loves this guy. He's very famous, Mark Rober, who does sort of engineering related videos for kids. He shows them fun experiments. And I find a lot of the content fun to watch with him. It's educational, but also it's light, it's entertaining, it's positive. And at the same time, yes, he's still trying to get you to do his monthly subscription thing to buy an engineering kit and go through the projects and watch his videos with that. But I don't really mind it so much because they are getting something of value that is not junk food TV. It's my kids asking about space and engineering and computers. So yeah, I know he's trying to shill me his the subscription thing, but I'm not exactly salty about it either, because I like it overall. I like the content, and I think that's a reasonable way of like monetizing that, where it's not just about advertising or just placing things. It's not about trying to influence you to buy something you don't necessarily need. It's building that like relationship and the familiarity, and I think that's what we want to lean in on too. I'm not necessarily the best at that. There's going to be some people on the team who are a little more adept at that.
I'm not so sure that you're not good at it. I don't. Sometimes people say that, and I agree they're not good at selling stuff. But with you, I wouldn't say that so quickly. And I do definitely agree on the fact that, I can see it on my angle as well. Like, people need to monetize. People need to make a living. They need to be incentivized, and they need whatever they do to be sustainable. Like, if you keep doing stuff and it's not sustainable, and then again, there's a huge difference of whether their monetization occurs while actually providing and creating value, rather than providing and creating junk. And especially as a parent, I'm sure that you see that way. And yeah, if it makes your kid much smarter and more curious and more productive, and opens up new ventures for him, hopefully, then it's definitely not just like buying candies or stuff that actually have an opposite effect.
I like that example in particular too, because when it comes to crypto, security is not the most exciting thing. In the same way that math and engineering, if it was presented in a dry way to a kid, might be a turnoff. If you can show them like the fun side, if you make it accessible, you don't make it like homework, then it changes it a little bit. If you can get useful tips that will help safeguard you, just practical things that make your day-to-day easier with crypto or computers in general. So we're trying to do more fun stuff too. I use too many bad metaphors speaking internally with the team, and our engineers are all amazing, but I was using a car metaphor for the Lattice One a little bit. It can be a little bit more fun, because I was like, okay, you guys were basically building, the super efficient, powerful engine. It's performant. It's a professional grade. But if this isn't a car that doesn't have cup holders, a lot of people won't buy it. And so we're like, what are the cup holders, the radio, the nice features that will get people to keep a device out on their desk? And that's why we're thinking about easy apps, the secure messaging, the things that make it so it's not just the thing you take out when you have to sign a transaction and you're nervous. It's just the tool you use for crypto. And I think we're going to deliver on that in a pretty cool way. So the Mark Rober metaphor works in the same way for me. It's like, if you sell people something that has to be about security and about obligation, it needs a little dose of fun to make it more palatable and have more people keep safe.
And really, like, man, I wasn't actually prepared for what you just shared earlier today. Like, the fact that this is gonna be such a huge change to the crypto user experience, narrowing the whole experience down to one device rather than two minimum. For me, it's a huge like. I was not expecting it, and I must say, and really hoping for you guys to follow through on it, and really, because you know what? Yeah, just like you said earlier, that you want to become like the category leader. This is a way to become, in my opinion, the category leader, because I have no idea what the other actors within the field are working on, but I'm not familiar with any kind of like this kind of a game changer. I haven't heard of, and man, I'm really Team GridPlus, let me tell you. Before we wrap up, sir, I was actually like the reason I thought about inviting you today, and thank you so much for spontaneously agreeing to come on such a short notice, was because I was actually, I'm not even on Discord much the past like at least a year or so, but I do get a lot of notifications to my phone. And actually, I saw a notification earlier, yesterday, about 24 hours ago, about the fact that you guys are having quite an insane sale for the Lunar New Year. And you guys are offering the Lattice one right now at $100 discount, which is basically 25% off, maybe even 26%. I don't know how to calculate that, $3 additional there. But right now, until February 24th, from what I saw on their Discord, you can get the Lattice one for $297 instead of $397. And by the way, even when I just published it earlier on the Leviathan News X account, two power users, both Martin Krung from Curve and Alice, contributor of Leviathan News, by the way, retweeted it and mentioned it, and I really think that this is a great opportunity, guys, to upscale your DeFi experience, especially the power users out there. Let me tell you, using a Lattice one is not like using any other wallet. So for me personally, highly recommend you guys consider, and again at a very special price for the upcoming days. What made you guys decide to go on such a big sale, Justin?
Just want to get the word out there. And with that, it comes with 3 safeguards. So it's almost like you have 4 hardware wallets, or you can use these as backups as well. So you don't have to buy multiple devices. We're just excited about it. We want to funnel more people into the ecosystem, the GridPlus ecosystem, before the new device as well. And this is actually going to be the best way to get that foothold. You'll use the same cards with the new device. So if you have a Lattice one, you're set up on day one, and you can use those things side by side as well. So if you have this set up on your desk, you're well situated for day one, for mobile, for desktop. And we're going to do some special things for the people who have supported us in the early days with our first product. So I think it's a good time to get in now, get those cards, and then you're set up on day one for the new kind of experience that we're going to be offering later this year.
God bless. Go to gridplus.io and shop over there, products/grid Lattice one. Justin, thank you so much for joining. Really enjoyed talking to you and getting some updates about the extremely cool stuff that you're building. Guys, go follow GridPlus on X as well, and join their Discord for more of these incredible announcements, and to be in touch. Also a very responsive group of folks, I must say. Shout out VJ over there, always very quick to respond to stuff. Follow Justin on X as well at 0x midnight. I am the advisor, Leviathan News. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like the video, subscribe to our channels, join our Telegram group and Squid Cave. And Justin, have a great weekend. And talk to you soon, hopefully. Looking forward to the next device. Looking forward to know the name at some point.
Yeah, very soon.
I'll keep waiting.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun, and we have to do it again soon. I could talk your ear off about a whole lot more.
The stage is open for whatever kind of updates. Really looking forward to bring some updates from you guys as quickly as possible.
All right. Thanks again.
Bye.